Hey guys, you know those moments when you're sure you're just going to fade into the background, mop in hand, invisible as the wallpaper? Well, this is not one of those nights. In fact, it's the kind of night where a billionaire in a red silk gown dares a janitor to play a Steinway, and you probably won't survive the secondhand tension. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're watching right now, drop your location and local time in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. New York's Whitmore Grand is all glass, marble, and ego tonight. Spotlights rake the street, cameras pop like fireworks, and inside the Grand Hall the chandeliers are dripping gold over 100 careful smiles. Guests move like they're in a period drama, except the script has a lot more stock portfolios and fewer duels. Marcus Reed pushes his cleaning cart along the service corridor, the same one he's walked for 5 years, every rag folded military precise, every step calibrated, so no one has to notice him. The air smells of champagne and polished wood, and over in the corner a Steinway and Sons Model D sits on its little stage like a crown jewel under glass. He's not supposed to be near its staff, aren't supposed to be near much of anything here, but when a champagne splash lands on the gown of Victoria Whitmore herself, the room snaps to attention. You could almost hear the PR team's heartbeats from 3 tables away. And then, with a smile that's sharp enough to core an apple, she says, "If you can play that piano better than a professional, I'll marry you." Now, historians still argue whether this was pure arrogance or just bad timing after too many flutes of bubbly, but the effect is immediate laughter, murmurs, phones raised. Marcus could vanish like always, but instead he sets down his tray, takes off his gloves, and says evenly, "If I do, you keep your word." Bets fly across linen-draped tables. Little jokes about white keys and black keys ripple like cheap confetti. A music critic in the crowd tilts his head, sensing there's more here than spectacle. And as security hesitates, because of course the rules are different for him, Marcus steps toward the piano, not as a prop in someone else's show, but as a man walking into a test that has nothing to do with matrimony and everything to do with dignity. Marcus sits, adjusts the bench like he's measuring the exact weight of the air, and lays his fingers on the keys. No flourish, no theatrical wrist flick, just a single note, struck like he's testing the surface of still water. Then another, and suddenly the room's pulse slows. The first piece is Summertime, but half a beat slower than anyone expects, each phrase breathing like it has its own set of lungs. The left hand walks soft and steady. The right hand sketches the melody with the kind of restraint that makes you lean in. Somewhere near the back, a man who joked earlier about white keys and black keys stops mid-smirk. Someone else lowers their phone, as if recording might scare off whatever's unfolding here. David Chun, the critic, leans forward, eyes narrowing not in suspicion, but recognition. This isn't a lucky amateur. This is someone with control, intention, maturity. Marcus bends to blue notes, so gently they seem to hover before falling. And for a second, you can almost hear the room's collective thought. Wait, who is this? Historians still argue whether that was the exact moment the gala stopped being a circus and became an audience. But either way, the shift is permanent. Victoria, frozen in her perfect hostess pose, feels the scaffolding of her control tremble. She had 2 scenarios preloaded in her mind's bad, and it's funny, or he's decent, and she spins it into a cute discovery. But this is neither. When Marcus finishes, the silence is so thick you could use it to prop open a door. And then he moves straight into a crisp, architectural sonata allegro modo, clean voicing, trills like fine glasswork. He's not chasing applause. He's building something brick by brick. By the end, there's no polite clapping, it's a standing ovation that rolls through the hall like a weather front. The marriage dare has turned into a moral contract, and everyone knows it. Voices from the back call out, "Keep your word." Phones capture Victoria's face, calculating, corner not by law, but by her own promise, now stamped by a professional critic's approval. And then Marcus says it plain and calm, "I don't need a wedding. I need people to keep their word." It's the kind of line you can't stuff back in the bottle once it's out, the kind that demands a sequel right there in the room. The noise outside the hall is a full-blown storm. Now News vans double-parked. Marcus Reed, climbing like ivy up every platform. PR is whispering legalese in Victoria's ear. Investors are texting damage control. And the safe option is obvious. Smile, say nothing, and let the internet move on. But safe isn't safe anymore. Not when a whole room just heard her promise and watch her opponent turn humiliation into art. So when Marcus suggests they speak privately, not to hide, but to move from mockery to making it right, she agrees. In the manager's office, away from the cameras, he lays out 3 clear terms. A public apology using his name, concrete reforms like a scholarship for underprivileged music students, free community concerts, and management bias training starting with her, plus procedural changes to scrap the staff out of frame, rule, and end pointless service elevator barriers. Oh, and listening sessions with frontline staff. He'll take no money, just the opportunity to return to music and help build a culture where dignity isn't an optional extra. Historians still argue whether it was the weight of the crowd, the logic of his terms, or the eerie calm in his delivery that tipped her, but Victoria nods. Back in hall, she takes the mic not to spin, but to say, "Tonight I was wrong. I disrespected Marcus Reed. I apologize unconditionally. No, if anyone was offended, padding, no half measures." She lists each reform with dates and details. Scholarship applications open next month, concerts in Harlem and Brooklyn, living wage increases, training timelines, policy reversals. Staff at the edges instinctively straighten, name badges catching the light. Marcus stands beside her, not as a prop, but as proof. "I don't need a wedding," he tells the room. "I need what's been promised to be done." And for once, a gala's applause isn't for the champagne or the auction totals, it's for a public commitment that everyone can measure. When the final piece he plays that night fades, the clapping is steady, not roaring like the room knows this isn't the end, it's the start of a longer rhythm. Guests pass cleaning crews in the lobby and call them by name. The no staff and photo sign comes down. Victoria shakes Darren the guard's hand, saying she'll take the service elevator with him tomorrow. And Marcus, packing up the piano, hears the last line of the night, not from a mic, but from Gloria at the edge of the crowd. "Well done, Marcus." The hall is nearly empty now, the chandeliers dim to a warm amber, the kind of light that makes marble look softer, almost human. Outside, the city hums on Taxis, neon, the low wind curling around corners, but in here, footsteps are slow, conversations quiet. The echoes of applause have thinned into something more like breathing, a steady reminder that not all noise is loud. Marcus lingers by the piano, his hand resting lightly on the lid as if he's sealing a letter he's been meaning to send for years. Victoria stands a few paces away, phone in her hand but face turned toward the space where the no staff sign used to hang. The air between them isn't warm exactly, but it's not cold either. It's that middle temperature where things can grow. In the corner, Gloria is talking softly with a couple of younger staff, their voices low but carrying a small lilt, like people testing the sound of their own names after a long silence. The room smells faintly of lemon polish and the last trace of perfume, both drifting toward the open doors. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the different chairs being stacked without hurry. A guard holding the door for a busboy, 2 strangers saying, "See you Monday," as if it's the most natural thing. Nothing about the night's headlines will capture this part, but this is where the real shift happens, in the small, quiet actions that don't trend. By the time the lights go out, the stage is just a platform again, the piano a closed shape in the dark. But somewhere in the city's constant noise, there's now a place for the sound Marcus made tonight. And if you carry anything from this, let it be simple. Dignity has no uniform, it has courage.